Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of the Steelers postgame show. My co-host Lance Williams will be joining us shortly. I wanted to go live because I am downright excited about this football team. My goodness, 17-12 win over the Los Angeles Rams. They've won 4 in a row, sweeping the 3-game homestand they had that everyone talked about being a pivotal point of the season. So, with that said, the Steelers are now 5-4, and they're heading on a short week into Cleveland against the Browns on Thursday Night Football, their first road game in a long time. And I'll tell you what, this game was something to talk about. Before we get to that, and Lance Williams is getting ready to join us right now, I want to touch on injuries happened in-game. Mike Tomlin said after the game that there were no real significant injuries of note. Basically, Ryan Switzer left the game with a back injury, and I want to say Ola Adeniyi had a hip. Both are going to be evaluated, but that's good news, not having any big injuries on the, after going into a short week, you can't have those little bumps and bruises, so they seem to be getting good there. So let's bring in Lance Williams now. Lance, what's going on?
Hey, I'm all right.
And we'll give you a pass for not wearing the mask right now based on the fact that you're a newly crowned grandfather. So congratulations. I haven't talked to you personally yet, just via text message. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'm hoping that we are going. There's nothing in the live chat right now. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a malfunction with.
I'm gonna show the mask since I didn't have time to put it on.
There you go. We see it. We see it. So just want to make sure that everything is. For some reason, I'm not seeing the live chat on my computer screen, so we're gonna have to go old school, and I'm gonna try to read this on my phone. Bear with us.
I can see the live chat.
Okay, well, let me see if I can maybe get in here quickly. It's not showing up on my end. So, Lance, it's all you. I'll keep an eye on it with my phone. So, let's get right to things, Lance. Knee-jerk reactions, what we always talk about before we dive into the game book, before we talk about stats, things like that. The Steelers win in an ugly fashion, but not if you like defensive football. The Steelers only surrender defensively 3 points in the entire game. What are your thoughts?
A win is a win is a win.
Anyone out there that still doesn't like the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, I would really like you to actually own up to it. I don't think there is anyone out there anymore.
Yeah, we were big proponents of it. But I might be having a problem with the live chat as well because it stopped at 5:24 unless nobody is chatting.
No, they are chatting.
I doubt that's the case.
They are chatting for sure. So, okay, but otherwise, Lance, I mean, talk about not just Minkah Fitzpatrick being an absolute stud who just always seems to be around the football. Talk about this game in general. It was such a strange game. The ebbs and flows, 17-12, a safety for the second week in a row. My gosh, what are your thoughts?
Well, this was interesting, and I know I'm going to get killed when I say this. This is a game where even in a win, I kind of feel like they took a step backwards. Defensively, they're getting better for sure defensively, but offensively, it's getting worse. I mean,
so to make sure you preface that with offensively, you think they took, yes. Defensively, this team is going in the right way.
Yes, offensively, okay. But when I put it together, I'm thinking as we go down the stretch, it's getting more difficult to win because the offense isn't holding up their end of the bargain whatsoever. And, we were going back and forth a little bit, texting during the game. I don't know if it's Rudolph. I don't know if it's Fichtner. But, the offense is taking a step back. The defense is did a bunny hop forward.
Bunny hop? What?
Well, more than a bunny hop. Let's say a Bob Beeman leap. Let's say a Bob Beeman.
This defense held. Hold on. This defense just held the Rams. And I know they're not the Rams from last year, but that's still a high-powered unit. The only player they didn't have was Brandon Cooks. They're riddled with good receivers. Cooper Kupp had 0 catches today.
Well, let me just say it was a Carl Lewis, Bob Beeman
You
I'm trying to
are,
think
oh
of
my gosh, you are
leap
absolutely
forward.
flip-flopping like crazy right now on this defense, man. This was a great defensive effort.
Yes, it was. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just
Huge step forward.
yeah. It was a great
You said a
performance.
buddy off.
I mean a hop. I mean, a hop,
Come on. All right.
a
So
Euro step.
a Euro
A
step.
Euro
There you go.
step.
Yeah. You're an NBA guy, so you can say that. Okay. We'll talk about the defense when we get to the game book because there's a lot of noteworthy plays and things like that. Let's talk about the offense. The more and more I watch this team, and I'm not going to disagree. I might disagree that it was a step backwards. I still feel like they're right where they were. They haven't been making progress. I see little dots and little bits of progress periodically throughout the game. For instance, in early portions of the game, Mason Rudolph was delivering some really nice throws that were just being dropped by the receivers. He had 4 passes that were dropped, just not good enough. The play calling has me but I literally don't know what the heck these guys are doing sometimes, or I should say this guy, Randy Fiedner. Now, I will say that Mike Tomlin in his post-game press conference today owned up to being the man that called the play action pass in the end zone that resulted in a safety. Lance, you sent me the text saying that was the worst call of the season, and Mike Tomlin owned it. Mike Tomlin owned it.
That's the worst call of the season. Come on, man.
Was the best call of the season going for it on 4th down in your own end? I was gutsy, man. I got to be honest, and I run the Twitter feed during games, the Behind the Steel Curtain Twitter feed. I even said I wouldn't have gone for it if I was the coach.
It's funny. I was saying they should go for it.
You did.
I was like, yeah, I was absolutely like, they absolutely have to go for it. That defense was gassed. They needed to at least possess the ball.
But they were in their own end. You were clinging to a tiny lead, a defense that has not given up a drive the entire game.
What's the silly quote that Tomlin says? We can't something.
We don't live in our fears.
Yes, there we go.
There's so many. I could have gone so many.
I mean, there we go. I mean, this is a weird game, and then they got a quick turnaround on Thursday. I mean, this is a very small margin of victory, or the way that they're winning, there's not room for much error. When you look at the offense, they can't be penalized. You can't have drops. I mean, they've got to do everything they can on offense. They almost have to play perfect offense to score.
Well, do you know why? This is a high percentage offense right now, meaning they are going to try to do whatever they can to maximize their efficiency. So they're going to be running plays. We've seen it all, the check downs, the short little passes. It's those plays. If you're going to run that style of offense, you can't beat yourself. And that's what I told you. We texted each other during the game. I said, this offense is so delicate because a holding call is like a death knell. You have no plays in your offense that are going to pick up 20 yards. And so you have to go into those manageable. You're basically playing for the third and manageable. And that's what you've said before.
Yeah. That's dangerous in and of itself because you don't want to live to have to convert a zillion third downs. Like at times you don't want to have third downs. Like you want to go from first down play to a first down play, first and second down to a first down play. You don't want first, second down, third down. First down, second down, third down. You don't want if we look at the game book, I'm going to guess they probably attempted close to, I'm going to guess like 14 or 15 third downs.
Easily.
In the game.
Easily, yeah.
I mean, that's just too many. That's a recipe for disaster with a young signal caller. And the thing that I was just thinking about when I was watching the game, I was just like, man, the Steelers, the football gods are not smiling down on the Steelers because they finally have a championship defense and 7 is hurt. Like it just kind of like that how it all works out. And that's why winning championships is so difficult because it doesn't always link up. For years, it's been the offense has been the strength. They've leaned on Ben. They've leaned on the offense. But now it's totally reverted to the other side of the ball, and now you don't have 7. They've
won 4 games in a row. That's all I know.
Yes.
They've won 4 games in a row. They're 5-4. They're above 500 for the first time with a crucial division stretch of 3 games coming up. We'll talk about that in a second. First, let's get to some super chats. Michael puts $5 in the tip jar. Thank you very much. I would put it up on the screen, but we're having some difficulties. Lance, keep calling Joe Hayden the candy bar. LOL. Joe Hayden played a great game, I thought.
I didn't call Joe the candy bar. I thought he was Skittles, but not a candy bar. I thought he was a fruit chew. Maybe a Starburst.
You did call him the candy bar when we were talking about Steven Nelson. I think you did say.
Did I call it a candy bar? I thought he was a fruit chew. Well, I'm gonna call him the strawberry Starburst. But he did play well today. He's a fruit chew. Maybe he's a high chew, key lime high chew.
Okay, next super chat. Isaac, longtime listener of the show, puts $20 into the live chat and says, "Lance, I'm gonna slap you if you thought the defense was a bunny hop better."
Well, Jeff got me. Hey, I gotta own that. It's Bob Beeman. It's a Bob Beeman jump forward. It's a Mike Conley. That's right, Mike Conley Sr., who held the long jump record forever. A Carl Lewis, who's probably the best long jumper in history. So it's at least one of those 3. It's not a bunny hop. It's at least a Euro step. Maybe it's a James Harden 4-step travel forward. But it's one of those. The defense can carry this team. They just need a few plays consistently out of this offense to help them. Imagine how good this defense would be playing if they played with like a 10-point lead.
Okay, hold on to that thought. So another $1.99. Adrian says new name for MR2 is No Cannon Rudolph. Don't get me started on that, honestly. So here we go. We have another super chat. Let me find it. Here we go. There's Tristan puts $2 in the tip jar. Says, guys, like the video. Do it for Minka. Minka is a monster. Marcus puts $5 in. He says, shout me out. Huge fan, Marcus Sturkey. Thank you very much for the tip jar. We appreciate it. Lance has the mask, not wearing the mask. Yeah, whatever. Okay. All right, so here's the thing. The question that I have for you is simple. Is this sustainable?
No.
Is this sustainable to get into the playoffs?
No.
I disagree with you.
You know why?
Go ahead. You're a pessimist. That's why. But
offensively, it's just not good enough. It's my problem with the offense is that it's stagnant. It's not getting better. And I still feel like they're trying to find a rhythm with what he really does well consistently. If the offense was trending up a touch, I would feel better. I just don't feel like they can win a game if the defense does not play well.
Well, I really feel like that sometimes because they don't trust Mason Rudolph. That is everyone knows that at this point. That when they have any lead, even clinging to a 7-point lead, clinging to a 5-point lead, they are going to be uber conservative. They're not going to put him in a situation where he's going to make that mistake. The crazy thing to me is that he hasn't made that mistake. Now,
he was trying hard today, boy. Whew.
Well, there was just some weird plays on both sides of the ball for both teams. But for me, I look at it and I think that if the defense continues to take the football away, that is the key for me. If they continue to take it away, which we've played 9 games now, and they have continued this trend. I don't see it stopping anytime soon. What did they have, 3 today? 3 more takeaways?
I know they had 3 picks, I think. You got a pick by Edmonds. You got a pick by Hayden. And you got
Minka had a fumble recovery.
And they got a fumble. They got an interception to end the game.
That's right, 4. So Minka had a fumble recovery, return for a touchdown, and an interception. I forgot about Hayden's interception.
And then you got
Trey Edmonds. 4 takeaways today. You know, the funny thing is that people love to say things, and then they never continue to hold these games and these opponents to the same standard. So they say things like, oh, well, they'll never be able to beat the Rams. And then when they beat the Rams, they say, oh, well, the Rams aren't that good. Or, oh, yeah, the Brandon Cooks wasn't playing. Look, the Steelers won the game. They were 0-3 and 1-4 at one time. and are now 5-4. Think about that. That's
Yeah.
remarkable. That
Yeah. I
is
mean,
remarkable. And I've said it before, and you hated on me for saying it. If this team gets into the postseason, I know that it's not a Super Bowl win, but this would be one of Mike Tomlin's finest jobs ever. One of them, not the greatest, but one of them. To keep this team on the straight and narrow, just I think is tremendous, personally.
you know what would help too? And why I'm thinking that this is hard to sustain. One is the biggest thing is the running game is just really bad. And at some point in time, they're forced to throw the ball 30 plus times with a guy that they really don't want to do that with because the running game can't help him at all. I mean, the running game is not giving him any assistance. They can't lean on it. So they have to lean on him, and they don't really want to do that. If the running game can improve, if Connor can possibly come back, give some juice to that side of the ball, stay healthy, and they can run it. I mean, you're going up against a Browns run defense that's not very good. If you could run the ball and sustain a decent ground attack, I'd probably be more optimistic. But they have to rely on him to throw the ball 35 plus times. And that's not a good recipe. That's like putting, prunes in sweet potato pie. That's not going to go well.
Well, here's the way I look at it with Mason Rudolph, because he's going to be given a little bit of a leash in certain moments, certain occasions. Juju on the opening drive, drop. James Washington, fumble. Deontay Johnson, drop. Vance McDonald, drop. If even half of these are receptions, it changes a lot, especially James Washington's fumble. That was a backbreaker. Beautiful throw, great catch. Yards after that, I mean, you could just see it coming. He had no idea what his surroundings. Balls on the turf. You just can't do that. You just can't do it. Let me get to some super chats before we continue. Adrian says $1.99 in the tip jar. We appreciate that. We need to at least run the ball to have a chance, like you just said. I agree 100%. But the question now is, it's easy to say that. It's a lot harder to do it. And I don't know what's going on. We're going to talk about that in a second. Crazy Chris gives $1.99. He says, new name, Minkah Fitzmagic. He earned the name, hashtag DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. You think he should be up there, Lance?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the guy has 2 defensive scores in the last couple of weeks, 5 interceptions. I mean, he's having a magical, fantastic season. He has to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I would think along with Nick Bosa. He's having a great year. And no one will criticize the Steelers for giving up a first-round draft pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Maybe the coaching staff and maybe Kevin Colbert knew what they were doing when they got Minkah Fitzpatrick. Just sometimes, every once in a while, the front office and the coaching staff, they do make the right decision.
Yeah. It all comes down to these stupid narratives people have. They'll talk about Dante Moncrief being the latest bust of a free agent signing, but they won't bring up Steven Nelson playing tremendous football. Thomas White gives $2 in the tip jar. Connor was out. 3 division games start Thursday. I feel like they've been planning for Connor to come back this Thursday all along. We'll talk about that in a second. A lot of people are just really liking you today. Tim says he puts $5 in the tip jar. He says, is Boswell having a Pro Bowl season? Only missed 1 kick. That was a 54-yarder. Other than that, been perfect. Do you think that's Pro Bowl worthy?
It's hard to go to the Pro Bowl with Justin Tucker kicking.
That's true. And I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. BSG74 puts $4.99 in the tip jar. What effect was moving our right tackle to guard and put our backup right tackle to the running game?
That was interesting.
Well, hold on. After the game, Mike Tomlin was asked about that, and he said they wanted their best pass protectors in the game based on the fact that Aaron Donald, Clay Matthews, they have a good pass rush. I think they only got to Rudolph one. Well, no, the safety. So they got him to him twice. So not a bad job in pass pro.
They got 3 sacks.
No, I'm sorry. I must have forgotten one then.
They got 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits.
And Rudolph was getting hit. He was getting hit. And that's a good defensive front. That's a good defensive front. The funny thing is, though, I said this on Twitter, and you can go back and check, that The crazy thing about football is in certain games, in certain situations, you just need one big play, one drive. And as crazy and as bad as the offense was, they got that drive. And it was the drive that resulted in a field goal that took up almost 8 minutes off the clock. They converted on fourth down in their own end. They converted on third downs, many to James Washington, one to Trey Edmonds. That was the fourth down conversion, actually. Yeah, you say that the red zone offense still sucks and it's not good. But at the same time, that was the drive. And that was the biggest moment of the game, in my opinion, because when they got the ball back, the Rams got the ball back. They just didn't have the timeouts. They didn't have the time on the clock, and the defense was able to kind of just sit back, play the chains, and keep them out of the end zone. So not ideal.
I'm going to disagree slightly on that being the biggest play of the game.
The biggest drive. And
the biggest drive,
it's when they needed it. It's when they needed it, and they got it. But go ahead. What was the biggest play of the game?
Well, it's the turnover, the defensive score. Because typically, typically in games, if you give up a special teams touchdown or a defensive score, you typically lose because you're always chasing those points. And to be able to match that score with your own defensive score pretty much negates that, gets you right back into the game, and then you take the lead moving forward. But yeah, I mean, it's a win. I mean, it's an ugly win, but it's a win. A win is a win is a win. I mean, winning correct. I mean, you cannot. I mean, style points are style points. You would love to win with style, but I think where the Steelers are, they'll take W's, and they're 5-4. And I did not foresee them being 5-4 at this point. I mean, we tried to pick those 3 games, but lo and behold, they won all 3.
I said 2-1. I think you said 1-2.
Yeah, I thought that they would lose to the Colts, but I thought they would beat I don't know. I probably picked the Rams to win, I'm pretty sure. But I didn't do a pick this week though.
No, you didn't. All right, Snowman puts $2 in the tip jar. He says we need someone to play fullback if Nix can't go. And they did use Nick Vannett in that position a little bit today.
It could be Dave Schofield because he goes to every home game.
But he doesn't go to everyone. He's trying to sell his Browns tickets, believe it or not.
And you guys need to check out the video of Dave live on location. It was a nice little video today.
I haven't checked it out yet. I did see that he went live. We talked about it at length, but well, this is off the air before he went, but I'll have to check it out. Kathy says prediction, $5 in the tip jar. Thank you very much, Kathy. A favorite baby boy's name in 2020 will be Minka. You have a lot. That baby boys and dogs. I know that growing up, I remember people had dogs named Slash.
Oh wow!
From Cordell Syria.
And that shows you, Jeff. We're in different eras. Like, you know what the dog name was in my era? Champ. Every dog was, and everybody had a German Shepherd, and their German Shepherd was named Champ. Everyone had one.
Here's a good question from Snowman. What's wrong with Pouncey? Was it because Aaron Donald was lining up over his head and he was just like, oh my gosh.
I'm not sure.
I gotta get this. I gotta get this snap off because I'm gonna get killed.
I have to watch that again, but I'm telling you, that's a play that I've rarely seen where a snap over a quarterback's head has resulted into a turnover, fumble, scoop, and score. I mean, I have not really seen that.
Well, Mason got it. Mason got a hand on it. That's the problem. So the snap went over his right shoulder. He got a fingertip on it, and it actually caused it to go further back. Normally that falls about 5-10 yards behind the quarterback. They land on it and just fall down, and then it just bounced. It's football, man. It's weird. Ball bounces in funny ways. But yeah, it's understandable that there are some mistakes, especially when Aaron Donald's across from you. But let's look at the game book real quick. You have it up on your computer there, Lance?
I do.
Go ahead. We did this last show. I like the way it flowed. Go ahead and just point out some key stats, whether they're team stats, whether they're individual statistics, and we'll talk about them.
I'm going to point out James Washington. Although he had the fumble,
led the team in receiving.
Yeah, he had 7 targets, 6 receptions for 90 yards. Really tough catch for the touchdown. High pointed the ball, got his feet down, really executed there. And when you look at the 2 young receivers, they were targeted. Him and Johnson were targeted 13 times, had 10 catches. This might be, when we talked about last week, a coming out party. maybe this was the coming out party for the young wide receiver core. They played better. They left some plays on the field, but they played better. And anytime you target 2 wide receivers 13 times, get 10 catches for 154 yards, probably average about 15 and a half a catch. I mean, that's good production there. So, maybe this is the start of a coming out party for the young wide receivers.
I hope so, because they need something. They definitely need. And at this point in time, I'm asking myself, everyone I said, well, Juju needs someone across from him. Well, the Rams did something I was shocked, stunned. They had Ramsey follow Juju wherever he was on the field, including the slot. And so you understand the lack of production from that standpoint. No one's going to say that Jalen Ramsey isn't a great player, but it was great to see Washington and Johnson show up. Where are the tight ends, Lance? Where are they?
I mean, you got to throw in between the numbers typically, and they don't really trust him to do that. Let me point out a weird stat, and this might be something. I know Dave Schofield is listening to the program. There were 17 combined punts by both teams. Now, I'm going to round out the punt yardage up. There were basically in this game 17 punts for 400 yards if you combine the punting from both teams. I don't recall seeing a football game where there were 17 punts. 17 punts for almost 800 yards. That's a case of both defenses really dominating in this football game.
No, you're right. And how many penalties were accepted?
I know the Steelers, I believe, had 11 penalties on the game.
This is a penalty and punt fest. If you like,
so okay, the Rams had 10 for 95 yards. The Steelers had 13 for 107. They cannot do that with Mason Rudolph at the helm. You cannot give up yards. You cannot be a penalized offense. It's like you said, they're delicate. But I'm going to give you a couple of numbers that stand out. We talked about earlier in the show the number of third down attempts by the Steelers. I guessed 15. I was off by 1. The Steelers had 16 third down attempts. They converted 5 of those. But the Rams, and this is just how well this defense has been playing. This is how bad I was when I said they bunny hopped. It was absolutely a Carl Lewis leap. The Rams were 1 of 14 on third down in this game. 1 of 14. Yeah. That's outstanding. I mean, that is outstanding. I mean, and they only gave up 1 red zone trip in the game. I mean, that's balling out. I mean, you're not going to see a National Football League offense be 1 and 14 on third down. They converted 7% of their third down attempts.
They scored 3 offensive points.
That's balling.
When was the last time we sat here and talked about a Steelers defense that surrendered just 3 offensive points?
I'm going to guess the last defense that won the Super Bowl.
Sure as heck seems like it. Or maybe went to the Super Bowl, that 2010 unit. That was kind of like the last gasp effort of that defense. But this is tremendous, people. I mean, everyone's kind of, it started with the Dolphins. It's the Dolphins. They haven't won a game, blah, blah, blah. Then it was the Colts. Well, they didn't have their quarterback and yada, 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 yada. No T.Y. Hilton. And so, yeah, Brandon Cooks wasn't in, but this was that Rams, Sean McVay. He's a genius, blah, blah, blah. Steelers defense held them to 3 points. 3. Their other 9 were defensive points. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get to some super chats here. We had a couple. Russ says it puts $1.99 in, says it put Dave at fullback and make sure he's wearing make sure he's wearing Brian's finny pants to be a major distraction.
Oh my goodness. Man. If you guys did not listen to some of the shows that Brian Anthony Davis subbed for me last week, if you want to listen to any of them, listen to the Yeah, I Said It on Friday. It is comically epic. He says some stuff that I'm just going to tease it like that. Listen to that show and listen for the comment he makes about Baker Mayfield. It is epic.
You have to know Brian too, outside of the realm of Behind the Steel Curtain to really grasp his, you know, his sense of humor. It's just so strange. It's so out of right field. But anyways, I will take the time now. We're about halfway through the show before Lance goes on with the stats and stuff like that. It's really, really helpful for those that want to help the program. And I've got a lot of emails about people that say, super chat's great, but how can I help? But how you can help is by liking the video, liking all of our videos. It helps get with the YouTube algorithm. It pumps our videos up towards the top when people search for things like Steelers podcast show. So like the video. That costs absolutely nothing. Well, a lot of people give their hard-earned money. We don't request that. It's awesome if you do. But if you just like the video, subscribe to the channel. We do a show every single day during the regular season. So if you subscribe, you'll never miss a show. You'll get an email or a push notification. We have over 500 people in the live chat currently. Like the video, helps us out a ton and costs absolutely nothing. All right, Lance, get to the next stat. What's going on?
Is there any possible way that the electronic football man, and I know that he went out with an injury, is it possible that the electronic football man, Ryan Switzer, can be placed on IR?
I actually predicted that, believe it or not, when the Steelers brought in Sutton Smith from the practice squad. I actually predicted that they were going to put Switzer on IR and move him in to help with fullback because he did play some fullback in the preseason, but obviously with the need at other positions, mainly running back, they ended up releasing Sutton Smith, but he brings no value to the team. Ryan Switzer. You're basically wasting a spot on the 53-man roster to have a guy fair catch the ball.
Yes.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
And his friend has a hurt arm. So his biggest advocate has a hurt arm. I mean, look, it's like when you're Batman in a corporation pulls you through and you're his guy and he gets fired, you should get fired too. Well, his guy is hurt. He should be gone. I want to jump into some defensive stats here.
Go for it.
TJ Watt, another fantastic game. 4 tackles, 5 combined, 2 sacks.
Jeez, that guy is a freaking monster.
1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, a forced fumble. Cam Hayward balled out with a sack, 3 quarterback hits, 2 pass defense, the tackle for loss. Hargrave balled out as well. 7 combined tackles. He had a sack, a tackle for loss, a quarterback hit, a forced fumble. This defense produced 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, another 4 turnovers. And, turnovers are something that typically in football you can't kind of predict. They're weird. You don't want to hang your hat on turnovers because they're just, sometimes you get a lot of them, sometimes you get none. But I might be changing my mind when it comes to this defense, Jeff, that I'm almost expecting them to get some turnovers every single game.
At least 1 or 2. I don't think that's asking too much. And what's really, really crazy when you think about the Steelers defense is they're still a young group. Like, that's what's crazy. Like, they're still a very young group. So you look at some of those stats. I mean, TJ Watt, just a monster. Cam Hayward, my gosh. I felt bad for whoever's going up against him because he literally was just straight arming these dudes and walking them right back to the quarterback. There was nowhere for Goff to move at all.
And we didn't talk about it last week when we were breaking down the Colts game, that one of the biggest plays was him walking Nelson back into Jacoby Brissett. And Nelson is a monster, and he had Nelson on rock, roll, bounce, and skate. And roll, bounce. He had him on skates. So they're playing fantastic football. One stat that we have to point out, and everybody in the live chat has talked about it, the running game again has to improve. 27 attempts, 42 yards, 1.6 yards per carry. And you kind of just saw it at the end of the game. You just knew that they were not going to be able to get a first down when they got the ball back. That it was just, it's almost like you might as well kneel it. You might as well just kneel 3 times and punt. Because
So let's talk about this, Lance. Is this a systemic problem? Is it a system problem, or is it the running backs are awful? Because I'll tell you what, You said it after the Colts game that Trey Edmonds. I want to make sure I got the right Edmonds brother going there. That Trey Edmonds could have walked into the end zone if he follows DeCastro. Mike Tomlin reiterated that same exact thing in his weekly press conference on Tuesday. The man has poor vision on the football field, period. You saw it several times today where he could have just cut it upfield. You get your 5-6 yards. Instead, he tries to bounce it outside for a gain of 2. It sets everything back. Is it the fact that the backs without Connor are just not good enough? Or is it more along the lines of the Steelers' offensive line, for whatever reason, can't run block?
I think it's both. They need a back. They don't really drive guys. They kind of hold blocks and wall guys off. And I think the way that they block isn't ideal for the backs that they have. I think the way that they block, they need a guy to pick and choose and they're kind of tailored to run block for Mr. Third and Fifth. For Mr. Butt Naked and Rob, Le'Veon Bell. Mr. Butt Naked and Rob. They're kind of tailored for his running style, where you don't have to drive a guy. You can kind of just hold a block, stalemate a guy, and let a guy pick and choose it and be patient. And they're not a big group either. Pouncey and DeCastro are athletic guys that you need to run outside and pull and run outside zone with. They're not going to drive downhill and put, they're just not moving guys. And the backs are inconsistent as well. So I think when you combine all of it, it's just really bad. And they have to improve that. If you run it 27 times, you can't get 42 yards rushing. That just puts too much pressure on the young kid to sustain it, because I think all Steeler fans would rather it be flip-flopped. The running game gets 38 attempts and Mason Rudolph gets 27, not the other way around.
Well, in a perfect world, yeah, that happens. But how much of this do you put on in this game? The fact that the defensive player of the year was across the line. That dude is a game wrecker.
Oh, he's a monster. I mean, he's an absolute monster. And I think that's probably why they didn't put Finney inside. They wanted to put a bigger body and Filer inside. But it has to get better. I mean, they have to keep working on this, because, having Mason Rudolph throw it 38 times per game is not what you want to do. But again,
go through it. If you said it, I apologize. I'm trying to watch my phone at the same time. What was Rudolph's stat line to finish the game?
He was 22 of 38 for 242. 1 interception.
He didn't have an interception. One touchdown.
One touchdown. One touchdown. No interceptions. The rating was 85.6. And there were some drops there.
Absolutely.
There was about 4 drops. So maybe you add those, those completions, he may go over 300 yards. The problem I think Steeler Nation has with Mason Rudolph, it's the drop back in the end zone. It's like, it's the drop back in the end zone. Like that, you're just petrified. Like, what's he supposed to do? Not run the play that's called? Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing.
Essentially a first-year quarterback in the NFL is going to go out there and say, F the head coach, I'm running my play. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I want to see that play on film. I wonder if he had an outlet, because, wow.
He had no time. David DeCastro got abused on that play by Aaron Donald. He had no time. None. And I know that a lot of people that watch these shows is saying, well, Jeff's a Mason Rudolph apologist. I will be the first to say that there are times where he makes really stupid decisions. Shoveling the ball forward, it was a stupid decision that almost resulted in a catastrophic result in terms of a fumble. Instead, and that play, and Tomlin owned it. I give him credit in the postgame. He said that he called a play-action pass. Why? Why would you call a play-action pass there?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
For a quarterback too, that does hold on to the ball a little bit too long.
And stays pretty much in the same spot. You can always find him in the pocket. Why don't you pop up? You might be behind. Oh, you can't do it. I wanted to read Sergeant Five's comment. Switzer is the only possession catcher. He does well until he has to run the ball back. That's great. He is a possession catcher.
It makes me cringe when I think about the fact that they are wasting a 53-man roster spot on that guy. And nothing against Ryan Switzer. I think he's a great guy. He does a lot of good in the community for Pittsburgh and the Steelers themselves. But it's a business. It's a business, and you're wasting a exactly.
I'll say it. I mean, I'm the guy that can say it like that. Jeff, you're too nice. That shit don't win you games. Wes Hickok, big up to Wes. Thanks for the like that Wes is going to give us after the game. Fire Danny Smith now. That's hilarious. Ben Builder chimed in on your comment, Jeff. Switzer is a solid human being, but he's not a great player. And this is football. Human being, there have been a lot of turds to play over the course of the years in the National Football League that are fantastic players. There's been a lot of good human beings that get cut in bad groceries.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
DoorDash, Instacart.
So here we go. So the Steelers win, and it wasn't pretty. It was on the defensive side of the ball, and there's a gentleman in the live chat. I'm not sure why I say gentleman loosely, who is just going berserk about the fact that we have not been waxing poetic about Minkah Fitzpatrick the entire game, or the entire show. I'm sorry. First and foremost, Minkah Fitzpatrick is an extremely intelligent player, and we've talked about that. So he had the heads up, the intelligence to pick up the fumble, the questionable incomplete pass fumble, and run it back for a touchdown. That's a heady play. Yet he didn't make the play. He ran it in, but it was Javon Hargrave that got to the quarterback.
Let me pause you, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Didn't we just say that we think that he's the leader and that he's defensive player of the year with Nick Bosa? Like
it's selective memory with a lot of people. Okay, but still, Minkah Fitzpatrick is making the most of his opportunities. The tipped ball from Joe Hayden to seal the game, which was intercepted by Fitzpatrick, was his second interception off of a tip. You're in the right spot at the right time. We've talked about this on our shows before in regards to that shows a level of football IQ, being in the right spot.
Yes, and that's not a coincidence. No. That is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence when you're in the right spot all the time. Where the ball just doesn't find you. Like, it's no magical, mystical stuff. It's you're playing your responsibilities and you're in the right spot.
And you're making the play.
And you're making the play.
You're not pulling a Sean Davis, where he was in the right spot a lot of times, and he just wouldn't make the play. Now, here's my question for you, Lance. Someone asked this question a long time ago in the live chat because I am following on my phone. They said, what player comparison would you give Minkah Fitzpatrick from Steelers prior? So you got to think a free safety.
I don't know. I'm just going to take low hanging fruit. I'm going to take. I don't even want to say
Troy.
that.
It's not Troy.
He doesn't blitz, but Troy kind of played the traditional, I guess, strong safety guy, whatever. But he was all over the place. I don't know. I have to think about that. I'd have to think about that because they haven't had like a ball hawking free safety in quite some time.
No, I mean it's been a long. Well, one person said that, and I get this comparison, but it's a different position. They said Rod Woodson. Woodson was corner. He did shift to safety later in his career after he left Pittsburgh. But Minkah Fitzpatrick I still think that his contributions to the team, I would go as high as saying 75% of them are not on any stat line that you'll ever see. Because his ability to get people lined up, his ability to cover and do his job and be in the right spots helps everything else work better. You know
what else he does is he allows other guys, he allows Edmonds in particular to play to his strength by being an in-the-box player. So when you've got that other guy doing that and you don't necessarily have to play that deep safety, which is maybe not your best trait, being that guy that watching the field and watching route combinations and playing sideline to sideline, where Minkah being back there allows you to play to your strengths in the box, cover guys, then he helps you, and in turn helps the defense. And I thought Edmonds was solid in this game. I think got beat a couple of times, but I thought the coverage was solid. I mean, the coverage was solid. Played a really good play to break up that pass late in the game. I mean, they're comfortable. Like, you can see the trust building. That front seven is hunting. I mean, they're playing outstanding football on that side of the ball.
The one thing Fitzpatrick does that we haven't heard since Troy Polamalu played for the Pittsburgh Steelers was an opposing quarterback says, I need to identify where he is on the field at all times. And that's what Jared Goff said about Minka Fitzpatrick. And
What did
it's not, he said he needs to identify where Fitzpatrick is on the field at all times.
Okay.
It's been a long time since we've heard a secondary. They weren't saying that about Antoine Blake. They weren't saying that about Cortez Allen. They weren't saying
Davis.
Cam Kelly.
And I hated to see my guy Jay Goff get smashed, but it was good. I mean, that's Cal football, but he got smashed today. Good kid too. Met him a couple of times, but unfortunately, he had to get smashed. Fortunately, he had to get smashed by the black and gold.
Well, Pac-12 sucks, anyways. All right.
I'm not even going to say anything.
I don't really follow college football, so it doesn't matter. All right,
I know you don't.
I tried to watch a little bit of that Auburn-Alabama game, and I was just very bored.
It was LSU-Alabama.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Auburn game's coming up. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about, and I don't want to get into this too much because I want to give people a rundown of what our shows are going to look like this week. It's a short week. It's going to be different. Tomorrow's the Steelers hangover. Tuesday is going to be the Steelers preview. Wednesday will be the standard, regular time and date and time. And Thursday's the game, and so we'll be on Thursday. We'll talk about this at length, but Lance, you have a 3-game stretch coming up now for Pittsburgh where they go to Cleveland, then they go to Cincinnati, and then they come back to Pittsburgh to play Cleveland again. I don't want predictions on the stretch, and we're not going to do that just yet. Maybe Wednesday we'll do that, but not just yet. How critical is this 3-game stretch though for this Pittsburgh Steelers team?
I mean, it's absolutely, it's the most critical stretch of the season. You got 3 division games back to back to back. You win those because the Ravens are rolling. You win those games, you're in the hunt. I mean, you win those games, you're what, 8-4?
Yeah, they'd be 3 games, so 8-4. Do you think they'll be favored in all those games?
Yes.
Even on the road in Cleveland on Thursday night?
Yes, Cleveland's terrible. Yes.
Well, if you want to start scouting Cleveland early, I'll tell you what, they're not going to like what they just saw on film. From Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, what did they do tonight? They did a good job stopping the run, I thought. They got after the quarterback. Cleveland can't protect Baker Mayfield at all, and their defense is taking advantage of every opportunity that they get so far. And so it's going to come down to, can they keep Myles Garrett from decapitating Mason Rudolph?
Yeah, I mean, and on the other side, on the defensive side of the ball, they got to stop Chubb. I mean, they got to
now Kareem
Hunt. So they got to choke off that running game, because if you put it in Baker's hands, and we'll talk more about it, if you put it in Faker Mayfield's hands,
yes.
and you need to listen to last Friday's I Said It with Brian Anthony Davis, because what he said has to do with Baker Mayfield. You have to listen to it. I'm telling you, I almost wrecked my car listening to it because I just was busting a stitch laughing because he was so serious. And then he backed away from it like 2 seconds later. It was hilarious. It was just great.
Yeah, you should check out all of our shows. You should check out all of our shows for sure. But it's great that we have 500 people here on the live chat. The channel is growing. Our goal is to get to, I think, 5,000 is realistic. Lance went way up above it, said 6. We're well over 4,400 right now. You all can help us out tremendously by basically hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel. Every little bit counts in terms of likes, comments, and all that good stuff. We appreciate
also,
that.
Jeff, on the last week's standard, isn't that when Brian Anthony Davis, who's bad, made the comment about his mother-in-law? Yeah, you guys got to listen to that show.
He is that guy. I do a lot of shows every week. I could probably, if someone asks a question, I could probably predict to a T almost what you're going to say, because we've been doing this long enough. And Brian's that one guy that I have no clue what's going to come out of his mouth. And I never
Yeah.
think it's going to be to the point where, oh my gosh, we're in trouble, but you
Right.
just never know what he's going to say.
Just think, listeners, how you can mix your mother-in-law and a comment about football in downtown Abbey all together. It was absolutely hilarious. I was like, this guy is killing me. Did he say that? But yes.
Okay, so what's crappy now is that the Steelers have this huge win. They're 4 in a row, and now tomorrow is a Mike Tomlin press conference because they have zero time to enjoy this win. Now they're on to Cleveland. The hope is that maybe they get James Conner back. Maybe they get Ramon Foster back. There were really no injuries of note. I said this to start the show in case you joined us late, that obviously they had Switzer with the back, Oladipo with the hip. Other than that, they seem to be pretty healthy. So if they can get those 2 players back, it should help the running game. It should help the team offensively going into next week. But make sure you stay with us here on Behind the Steel Curtain, and make sure you check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com for all your Pittsburgh Steelers needs. If you are listening in audio form and didn't know we had a YouTube channel, search BTSC Steelers Radio. Like, subscribe. We appreciate it, Lance.
Let me ask you, Jeff. And this is going to be like our little kind of rant. I mean, the last show you guys were talking about minor league hockey. I was dying laughing.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, you guys knew minor league hockey as well as you guys know football. I mean, I was like, these guys know minor league. I was like, wow, this is crazy. They know minor league hockey. I didn't even know that league existed. The ECHL. I was like, what is that?
East Coast Hockey League.
Oh, wow. But I just wanted to ask, like, if the Steelers continue to win every game, will your beard be as long as Keeble's?
No, I would probably still trim it. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, we're 4 weeks in with this thing, and it's starting to grow on me. It's definitely longer than the hair on my head at this point. So
yes. I didn't want to say that, but you admitted it. So,
well, anyone that has eyes and is watching a video, you can tell. I mean, I just cut my hair today, and definitely longer. But hey, the outfit hasn't changed, man. Believer shirt remains. The Zubas remain. The same seat remains.
You should just go bald. Changes. You should just shave your hair bald. Just go bald and do the bald with the beard. There you go.
Bald with the beard. It's pretty much, it's close enough, man. I mean, my gosh. I don't know what else to say. But
stubble there. You look like a Marine guy. you know, like a Marine. Oh, speaking of that, I want to make sure that we do not miss. I want to give a big shout out to, all the vets out there. I want to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, who's a vet, Army vet. I want to give a shout out to my granddad, who was an Army vet, a World War II vet. I want to give a big shout out to a lot of my uncles. A lot of my great uncles were Korean War, Vietnam War, World War II vets. I want to give a big shout out to my father-in-law as well, who was a Vietnam vet as well. So I want to give a big shout out to all the veterans out there who are serving and serving their country.
I second that 100%. My grandfather served in the Korean War, was wounded, and then sent back out to the front lines. So yeah, I think most of us probably have some tie and connection to someone that served in some way, shape, or form in one of the branches of our wonderful military. We appreciate that. If anyone's listening,
yeah, especially in our area, Jeff, Western Pennsylvania. I mean, Western Pennsylvania and West Virginia. I mean, boy, there's a ton of people that weren't going, get out of high school.
You sign up,
you sign up, and we're enlisting immediately.
Yeah.
Avoid the meals. You avoid the meals in Pittsburgh. You don't get to the meals. You just go to France.
Well, you know what you avoid in West Virginia? You avoid the coal mines.
The coal mines, yeah. You avoid the mines and the mills, and you'll take that. Go to Paris Island? Go to boot camp. That's better than being in the mills and in the mines. So, big up to all the troops out there.
And if you're listening to this or watching this overseas and you're a member of our armed forces, we thank you very much for all your service. We appreciate it, as always. Big shout out to you also. Lance, why don't you send us off?
Steeler fans, get ready for us. We've got a big game on Thursday, but as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
We will see you on Thursday night for another episode of the Steelers postgame. Can they get to 5? We'll see.
We shall see.
We'll see. Take it easy, everybody.